Hello and welcome to NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars. Today is Thursday, August 15th, and you're attending one of our weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining us today. If you are new here as an NJSBDC client or just a viewer, an attendee, thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and we hope that you continue to attend and continue to benefit from our services. If you have been attending these webinars or you are an existing SBDC client, then we always appreciate your support. We're glad to have you, and we hope you'll benefit from these webinars as well. So my name is Uzma. I'm a consultant here at NJSBDC. NJSBDC stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. We're a statewide program powered by the SBA, which stands for Small Business Administration, and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three things: no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, just like this one, and exclusive small business resources. If you'd like to know where our regional centers are located, so we have 10 regional centers and one satellite office throughout the state of New Jersey. You'll notice that there are small SBDC logos on the entire map of New Jersey, located in certain counties. Go to njsbdc.com, put in your email if you'd like to register, select your county, and we'll get you registered in the system to be a client. You have to be registered in the system to receive our services as a client. And by services, I mean counseling. Otherwise, you can attend these webinars and events. It's open to anyone and everyone. All right, so in the chat, I do see everyone saying hello, afternoon, hello to everyone attending. Make sure that you put in where you're from. If you're from New Jersey, anywhere else, what you'd like to see in this webinar. If you're sending the message to everyone, then select everyone in the message little drop-down menu. If the message is just for us, which is a private message, then select host and panelist. All right, Mary Jo, Morris County, Essex County, Edward, hello. Yes, share your socials, LinkedIn profile. Feel free to network. All right, so on the agenda, we have a couple of headlines, then we have the presentation, and then we have a Q&A session with our speaker after. These are the small business headlines of the week. These are just some things that are happening in the community that we'd like you to be aware of. Some of these things we share in our weekly newsletter. If you aren't signed up, definitely recommend that you sign up with us through our website. And I will go through these very briefly. We've shared them last week as well, but I'll just go through them very briefly. And the links will be shared in the chat. Before that, let me just take a quick look in the chat. All right, Jacob, Vince, greetings, Christopher, Gaetano, Maria, hello to everyone. Abai, welcome, Louis, John. All right, so it seems like we have Anam. All right, we have a lot of people from basically every county of New Jersey. Edward, all right. So press release, SB Administrator Guzman announces working capital pilot now, capital pilot now accepting applications at participating SBA lenders. Program expands the small business access to credit lines that creates jobs, spur sales, and growth. All right, let's see what stands out here. So for small businesses, this is something that you should know. Committed to a range of product offerings. Okay, 7A loan program. If you'd like to match with a lender, this is the link that you should be going to, My SBA Loan Portal. Definitely sign up here or answer the questions there. And that's something that we, our capital team and such, like to use, not that one, like to use to match our clients with lenders. Something, if you don't know, just an FYI, we do not lend. We're not a lender. However, we can help you match with community lenders or through this portal as well, and get you help. All right, second one is also from SBA. Administrator Guzman announces $7 million in prime grants to serve low-income micro entrepreneurs. 28 grants will support training, program development to increase access to capital and grow businesses. Again, I'm going through these very briefly. Links are being shared in the chat. All right, so this is under the Investing in America agenda. SB has placed particular emphasis on organizations that support under-resourced small business owners, including those in rural areas and those that deliver technical assistance for entrepreneurs who are not proficient in English. All right, so these will be going to organizations that help the underserved communities, not the businesses themselves. All right, so look out and watch out for those organizations. Press release from NJDA. Definitely keep an eye out on NJDA and their program offerings. Thursday, August 8th, which has passed. However, this is open, and this opened on Thursday this past week and will close in October 8th, 2024, which is the Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge. $7 million grant program will prepare New Jersey residents for green economy careers with focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was an informational webinar held, but if you'd like to know more, click there. And New Jersey, Rutgers, Newark Career Resources and Exploration. If you'd like to get an intern for your small business, you can register and participate in the program. All right, I hope I didn't take a lot of time, but I went through this very briefly. Hopefully that always helps and keeps you in the loop and what's happening in the community. Just some things that you should keep in mind. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A box, not the chat box. We'd like to address all your questions. We might miss them if you put them in the chat box. So if you put them in the Q&A box, that's a dedicated space for us to answer your questions. If you'd like to receive the slides that our presenter will share, then please complete our brief survey and you'll receive them. So Google Forms, you submit it, you get the link. And this webinar is being recorded. The link will be shared in the chat on where you can view it. Usually it's our YouTube channel, and it will be available in 2 to 3 business days or less. All right, so session 29 in this webinar series, webinar session that we have been doing since I believe November with our startup consultant, Vanessa Schwartz. Streamline your NJ startup expert registration strategies. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but it's always good to be back with our new audience. So Vanessa, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this for us again. And the stage is yours. I will stop sharing.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Uzma. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Hope everyone is having a very nice summer. I'm going to share my screen and then pull up some slides, which I think are right here. This is it. Okay. Everybody okay? You can see my slides. All right. So again, welcome. We offer no-cost counseling and educational programs such as this webinar. And we're here today to talk about startups and some other items of interest relating to your business as you're starting up and growing. So whether you're someone who wants to take your hobby to the next level, or you're interested in pursuing a side hustle or a professional in your own space and believe the time is right to start entrepreneurship for yourself, you've come to the right place. We're the right people. We can assist you. And it's an excellent step in the right direction in educating yourself and understanding the resources that are out there for you so that you could not only just move forward, but move forward in a correct fashion. Okay, so today we're going to talk about different business structures that are available to you as business owners. We're going to talk about formation and registration process in New Jersey, in particular for the limited liability company. There's going to be additional discussion on, excuse me, some of the state regulations in forming and registering your business, including addressing some of the tax implications for doing business in New Jersey. Funding and cash management is always an important topic when it comes to starting a business and maintaining that business while you're operating. And then there are additional needs. We like at the SBDC to be able to offer you counseling on all aspects of running your business. Sometimes those needs may require outside sources of professional services. So I'd like to address that a little bit in the presentation. And then next steps, once you form, you're registered, you're ready to go. What are your opportunities? How will you grow? We're kind of here for you in all aspects at every step of the process. So with that, we'll move on. The first structure that I want to talk about, an option for all those looking to do business in New Jersey, is the sole proprietorship. What is a sole proprietorship? So you'll hear that term floated around, and we want to make sure we're always using it in the right way. Basically, when you're a sole prop or sole proprietor, you are yourself. You are transacting business on behalf of yourself. You're not a business entity per se, but you're a person and you're doing business. If you'd like to represent yourself other than your own name in doing business, you can get what's known as a trade name. Trade names are provided for you through the county clerk's office. So whatever county you're residing in, you'll go to that county clerk office, or you'll go to the website, and you'll normally see a link for establish a trade name or file for a trade name, and you'll see what the process is. It costs about $50 or $60 to establish a trade name in New Jersey in each of the, well, it's up to the county really, but I would say roughly between $50 and $60 to create a trade name. And at that point, you can do business under the trade name or under your name as well. And you can use your social security number as a tax ID. You don't have to get a separate tax ID from the IRS if you don't want to. Social security number is perfectly fine. However, lately, and I think in recent years, we would agree, more sole proprietors are opting to go to the IRS and obtain an EIN to represent their sole proprietorship. It's a good idea because it protects you and it protects your social security number. It doesn't cost anything to get a tax ID from the government. So even though you don't have to, sometimes it's just maybe a safer bet than to have to constantly be, pulling up your social security number as your tax ID. You can use an EIN. It's called an employer identification number. And that could be the tax ID for your sole proprietorship. You're allowed to use your personal bank account to transact business. Someone can Venmo you to pay you. That's perfectly acceptable. You don't need a separate business bank account. And any income that's transacted through the business is passed through to your personal income tax return using a Schedule C attachment. That is an IRS document. It's called the Schedule C. It's basically going to reflect all your sales, all your expenses, and ultimately your net income from your business. It'll flow up directly into your personal tax return. No need for a separate tax filing for the business. There is no legal separation at all between the assets of the owner and that of the business. So the downside is that you have no liability protection. If you were to be sued, or if you were to run into financial trouble and find yourself in some sort of a debt situation, your personal assets are at risk. So we don't have any separation, and you are at personal risk and liability when you operate as a sole proprietorship. So once we get beyond the sole proprietorship, we're now talking about actually business entities, as opposed to just the structure of a sole prop. Now, a business entity further up the continuum now is a more structured, separate business structure, separate from yourself. And the first one we always discuss would be the limited liability company. A limited liability company costs $125 to form in New Jersey. There is a processing fee. Now, as opposed to going to the county clerk's office, this formation process is done online through the New Jersey State Portal, through the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. So all done at the state level. There is a $75 per year annual maintenance in terms of dues that are paid when you file an annual report each year. The annual report is usually at the anniversary of your formation date. It's nothing other than logging into the portal, making sure nothing has changed in terms of your address and contact info, and putting your credit or debit card in, or you're creating an e-check to pay your dues. So there's no, people think, oh, an annual report, I gotta get my bank statements. No, they make it sound a lot more strenuous than it is. It is literally just paying your dues and checking in with the state that you're still in operating, and it keeps you in good standing. So the option of forming an LLC does require you to get a separate tax ID number from the IRS. Back to the EIN, that is the employer identification number. That is a tax number, once again, that we would obtain from the irs.gov. It does not cost anything to get a tax ID. So you would go to irs.gov, apply online, and you would get a tax number to represent and match the legal business name of the LLC. You are required to have a separate business bank account for the LLC. You can no longer transact business using your personal business account, personal bank account. And that is what also facilitates the separation of you personally from your business. No commingling of funds. It's a cleaner way to transact your business. It's the legal obligation of an LLC owner is to have all your business transactions flow into a business bank account. And then, of course, you as the owner are welcome to withdraw, deposit money as needed as the owner. Now, the great thing about a limited liability company is that you are, as the owner, allowed to choose how you wish to be taxed. When you are the only owner of a LLC, you are referred to as a single member LLC. And the great thing there is that the federal government allows single member LLCs to be taxed by default as a Schedule C filer. You recall, we used the Schedule C when we filed our income taxes for the sole proprietorship. Very easy tax filing process. You are permitted to do the same as a single member LLC. So it does not require a separate tax return. You can go ahead, attach that Schedule C at the end of the year, reflect your sales, your expenses, and ultimately your net income. If you're more than one member, that is considered a multi-member LLC, you will default to the Form 1065. A 1065 is an IRS partnership tax filing. You're not legally a partnership, but you would be taxed as a partnership. And then as an LLC, you also have the choice, whether you're one person or multi-member, you can also choose to be taxed as a corporation. And that's the Form 1120. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation, but just understand that the federal government does not have a designation for LLC tax filings. It allows the LLC to choose how it wishes to be taxed, depending on whether you're a single member, a multi-member, or if you're either or, and asked to be taxed as a corporation. Now, the next level up is your corporation. You all know corporations you think of as big companies, and many are. And there are reasons sometimes where a small business may wish to actually incorporate. It can have something to do with the liability protection that's necessary for that small business. Sometimes the business is better set up in terms of a corporate structure because it does offer the strongest liability protection. Sometimes it's easier to raise capital in terms of issuing shares and issuing equity to raise capital for the business if you're set up as a corporation. But just know that even if you're a small business and you decide to go that route, you are still required to establish bylaws. You are expected to create a board of directors, and you are expected to hold shareholder meetings. It seems strange if you're one person, you incorporate and you hold a shareholder meeting, but people do it. You would create the paperwork, you would make sure you were properly documented and that you were organized in terms of your corporate setup. Now, corporations are required to file separate tax return for the company. They do have a separate tax filing, and corporations are also subject to corporate tax rates. So as a small business, it's burdensome and it's cumbersome to file and have to pay a corporate tax rate on your income. And then after that, you're required to pay a tax on your profits as shareholders and owners. So that's what's often referred to as the double taxation. Big company can sustain that kind of a tax burden. A small company cannot. So that's why we talk about the S Corp, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in the next slide. But just know that right now that the LLC, the corporation, all of this can be done right online through the NJ portal, and it is done at the state level. Now, we're not going to get into a ton of detail because that's not what this presentation is really about, but it does really make sense that you understand that when we're talking about startups and you hear definitions, that you understand all the definitions. When you choose what you're going to choose and move forward, that you're doing it in a clear way because you know what the other options are and what they mean. So as a corporation, you can file for a subchapter S under the IRS code that helps small businesses get out from that double taxation corporate tax rate and allows for a business to avoid the corporate income tax, allows the income to pass straight through to directly to the shareholders, and it's a way for small businesses to incorporate without being subject, as we mentioned, to the corporate tax rate. Now, it's only for certain types of corporations. You have to have 100 or fewer shareholders. Can only be common stock, not preferred stock. It's a fairly simple process to file for the S Corp status. And it does make for an easier tax filing. Now, we talked about LLCs choosing to be taxed as corporations. When you hear an LLC is taxed as an S Corp, this is what that means. It means that the LLC is taxed as a corporation, but it's really taxed as a corporation, but then as filed under the subchapter S as an S Corp. So what does that mean? That allows LLC owners to actually put themselves on payroll, be employees of their company, and thereby lower their profit. And what that does is it changes the tax structure of the income statement. So usually as LLCs, we're owners, we draw our profits and pay from our profits. When you are taxed as an S Corp, you are allowed to be put on payroll, and now you're both the employee of the company as well as the owner of the company. And what does that do? It basically gives you a W-2. It reduces your overall net income and self-employment taxes. And there is a time and place for an LLC owner where filing taxes as an S Corp may be more tax advantageous to you than as a pure 1065 or single member filer. Now, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to get too much further into it. This is a decision that you would make with your accountant, and it's something you should know that you can change along the way. You could start one way and change to another way. Remember, you can choose how you wish to be taxed. And if you choose from one year to the next, change because it may be more tax advantageous to you as you develop more income to change your tax how you wish to be taxed, you may do that. But again, under the counsel of an accountant. Okay, so now we're going to really focus on the limited liability company. We want you to get it right the first time. Now, it's a little bit of a complicated thing. Even though it is meant to be done by the individual, it's all on the portal, it's easy enough to do. There are questions, and sometimes when you're going through anything that's related to the government or the state, you get to something you don't know quite how to answer it, and then you may make a wrong choice, and then you have to go back and fix it. What we do is we will make sure you do it right. We'll sit with you over the phone or in person, and we will make sure that you get through your LLC formation and registration, plus getting your tax ID number, and that you do it all correctly. And that's a huge benefit. I can't stress enough, if there's anything that you get out of the SBDC, is that you don't have to pay a third party hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to form your business. And you don't have to worry about doing it yourself and worrying if you did it correctly. We make sure as we go along, sometimes you learn as you go. So as you're going through the application, you know the terminology. We explain, well, what does that question mean? Well, as a business owner, that's important because X, Y, Z. So I think it's a great advantage for a business owner to set up their own business, because it's going to come in handy down the road when you have to do other things relating to your LLC. You'll understand what that means when you go through the process yourself for formation. And in doing so, we're on the site, we're on the NJ portal. That's where you can get everything you need. You don't have to be, there's a lower risk of you potentially being scammed by third-party solicitors trying to get you to do something that you don't need to do. Always remember that anything you need with your business can be found on the state website, .gov. In this case, it's njportal.com, but it does take you into the .govs. And IRS.gov. Unfortunately, there are a number of third parties out there that make themselves look like they're part of the government, and they try to get you to pay them to do things that you can do for yourself. And frankly, they're scams. And we want you to be completely familiar with the structure of how you form and where to go if you have questions or if you need anything. Okay, so these are some other items. We'll make sure you know what papers are important, what to keep, and then also in terms of maintaining your bookkeeping records as you get yourself formed and registered, what's important to get yourself in a good place so that you move forward operating in an organized way. Okay, so a couple of things. If you did go ahead and hire a third party, like a LegalZoom, to help you with your formation and your tax ID, please know that they don't register the business for you. And that's a step that is often left out, and it creates a lot of problems down the road. In New Jersey, the formation piece is separate from the registration piece. So you can form your sole proprietorship by getting a trade name, get your tax ID, but you still have to register. You can form your LLC, you can form your corporation using the NJ portal, get your tax ID, but there's a separate process for registration. So unless you actually register that business that you formed, you are not, in the eyes of New Jersey, permitted to transact business in the state. It's for taxation purposes, and it's what gives you the go-ahead to actually conduct business. Now, like I said, if you did go through a third party and you feel that, oh my God, I don't know if I registered or not, contact us. We can, look that up for you. And if you didn't register, we'll walk you through that process. Now, there's a new requirement as of January 1, 2024 called the Beneficial Ownership Information Report. This is through the federal government. The federal government wants to know who is forming LLCs and who owns the LLC. So, a bit controversial, but we won't get into that right now. It is something that is required as of right now, and it's meant to be done by yourself. It has to be done within 90 days of forming your LLC. If you formed post January 1, 2024, right now, the government's giving you 90 days to file this report. Takes a couple minutes. It's not cumbersome. You're going to see solicitations potentially out there charging $100, $125, $10. I've seen from $10 to $125 to file this on your behalf. It's not meant to be done. Doesn't, as a small business, you may do it yourself. If you're nervous about it, you don't know how to do it. Again, we're happy to walk you through that. It's another step, but it is what it is. If you formed your LLC prior to January 1, 2024, the federal government is giving you through the end of this year to go on and still file the report. So it is a requirement for all LLCs in existence. Okay, so before forming an LLC, you'll have a conversation with us if you're going to work with us, and we're going to tell you about the things you need to have. You need a unique name in the state of New Jersey. This is the link to check to see if your name is available. Doesn't matter if you Google and you find that the name, oh, I don't see anybody else in New Jersey who has it. There's one site that to check, and it's this one. Now you will get all these slides and all these links after you fill out the survey, I believe, at the end of the presentation. So you can peruse, you can look. Actually, I'll show you right now what that looks like. See business name availability. If I wanted to start a business called Sample Business, and I did a little search, you'll see here, oh, I think they changed the interface. Oh, there it is. Sample Business is available. So that's exciting. Okay, so you'll see. That's how you search to see whether or not your name is available. Then we're going to need to help you. We'll help you. We'll walk you through it. Get your EIN from the IRS. Do not find yourself on another third-party site that looks like the IRS. And then, you know, at the end of the day, if you're prompted for a credit card to pay for your EIN, you are in the wrong place. Abort, abort, abort. Close out. You're not at the IRS. It does not cost anything to get an EIN. I have found myself on that site, admittedly, when I first started doing this years ago. I was helping somebody, we went on, and next thing I know, we're being prompted to put a credit card in. It happened so quickly. Go to irs.gov, apply online, and that's where you'll get your tax ID. If you say you would like it to receive it immediately online, it gets generated automatically. Otherwise, you can request it by mail. Don't ever do that. You may or may never, may or may not ever get it in the mail. I assume it's fine, but it can be generated immediately once you hit submit if you request for the number to be generated online. Now, the other things you're going to need are some industry codes. No big deal for statistical purposes and forming and registering your business in New Jersey. There's a list of New Jersey industry codes. Once we're in the process, it'll pull up. We can look to see what code best describes the business that you're doing. Same thing with the NAICS code. That's a national industry classification system where you look to see what you're doing is defined by a code. Now, obviously, you may have an LLC, you may have multiple businesses or doing multiple things. There could be numerous codes that identify what you do. For the purposes of formation and registration, we just want to pick the one that best describes or identifies the bulk of your revenue source. You'll need a registered agent. You can be your own registered agent in New Jersey. You don't have to hire one. A registered agent is the person and location that will be responsible for receiving all state and legal generated documents. Be responsible for receiving all state and legal documents. That just means that someone has to be able to deliver important documents that come from Department of State or if you're being sued, or if the lawyer has to deliver papers, they can't come to your place of business and find a piece of grass or a P.O. box in the middle of a field. That's why the registered agent has to be a legitimate address. Some people don't want to use their home address because they don't want to be on the address on record. If they're a home-based business and they don't have a physical location. So you can always hire a registered agent to do that. And there are several to choose from. The no bells and whistles and no frills agents cost as little as $49 a year. If you're more than one person, you need to create an operating agreement. Multi-member LLCs are required to have the operating agreement. You cannot open a business bank account without an operating agreement. What's in the operating agreement? Well, basically, you and your other fellow members are going to have to put in writing how much of your capital contribution are you willing to put into the business, what's the ongoing investment in the business, what decisions have been made on how that's going to be handled, what is everybody's roles in the business, what's your profit share, and maybe most important, if and when you were to dissolve your business, how are we going to distribute the assets? How are we going to close this down? Who gets what? And so this is a very important document. It is legal by nature. It doesn't have to be done by a lawyer. We will not comment or really assist too much in this except to provide you a template that we find from maybe Rocket Lawyer to give you an idea, because you can do it on your own. My advice always is, if there's any question, it doesn't hurt to have an attorney take a look at your operating agreement or help you with an operating agreement. You hate to spend money unnecessarily. This is somewhere where it may be worth it. You're dealing with other people, you're dealing with multiple scenarios. It's a very flexible system when you're working within an LLC. Not everything is uniform, and you want to make sure it's all in writing and that you're comfortable. So that's the operating agreement. Once again, $125 per form, $350 processing fee. If you're going to use a credit card, you can do e-check for I think $1. It's a credit or debit card is allowed, and so you'll have to have that ready when we go to form and register. And you'll need the names, addresses, social security numbers, and ownership percentage of all the members and owners prior to formation and registration. Back to how you wish to be taxed. Remember, the LLC can choose how it wishes to be taxed. So you'll have to know whether you want to be a single member filer. That's the Schedule C. If you want to be a 1065 filer, that's when you're a multi-member LLC. Or would you like to choose to be taxed as a corporation? And that's with the S Corp tax designation. You also have to know if the sale of your goods or services are subject to state sales tax. Are you selling books? Are you selling, providing cleaning services? What is it that you're doing? And does New Jersey require you to charge sales tax? So sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it isn't. And we have a book on file. It's actually later on in this presentation. You'll see, you can search to see whether or not your good or service is subject to sales tax. If it is, you are required over the course of the quarter to collect the sales tax during the transaction, hold the money, and at the end of each quarter, remit the sales tax collected to the state. That is your obligation as the business owner. And so that's something that you need to know when you're registering. You'll check that box. Yes, my goods and services are subject to sales tax. Or yes, I'm eligible to make exempt purchases. If you're a retailer and you're buying wholesale items that are eventually going to be subject to sales tax, you yourself in purchasing your inventory do not pay sales tax because you're the retailer, you are not the end user. So you would provide an exempt certificate or a resale certificate to the wholesaler or to the original seller of the good, and you would be exempt yourself. So these are things that we can explain in more detail. We can help you. I've worked with clients, walk them through their first tax filing. It's called filing an ST50. That's when you remit your sales tax. It's pretty user friendly, but happy to help if you're in that situation. There's additional registrations and certifications and other items needed on occasion. Okay, just want to make sure my battery does not go. All right, I think we're okay. In any event, we would go through that as well. We're going to make sure that you're, if you're a general contractor and you need a registration, if you need workers' compensation, we can talk about that. Home health aides required to be certified. So things like that, we'll check the Business Action Center website and we'll see if there's anything in addition that you may need as a business owner. And you may need to identify a bank to open up your bank account. That we could talk more about that, but basically you want a business bank account that does not charge any kind of monthly fees, that's small business friendly. Okay. I'm going to pause right there for 1 second. And I'm back. We had a technical issue. Okay, so where are we? This is the great set of links. When you get the slide presentation, you'll see you can look through all of this. Licenses and registrations. This is where you can go to see if your business requires additional licensing. Sales tax requirements. This is the booklet I was telling you about. You can see this is the New Jersey Sales Tax Guide. So you can see, you know, all the different items, whether it's exempt, not exempt. If you have any questions, you'll see further down, it goes through exempt, tax, taxable, exempt. So, and they're pretty good. There's a division of taxation that helps small businesses. So you'd be able to always contact somebody over there if you have any questions. Some things can be a little gray, and I always have to double check myself because sometimes it's not very straightforward. If you have questions, again, the NJ.gov, Division of Treasury, all these sites have all the information regarding what your requirements are as self-employed individual and paying your income tax, whether you have to hire employees, how to set up a W-2, W-4, questions regarding independent contractors, that's your W-9, 1099. These are some IRS websites that could be of some help. And generally speaking, as your mentors, part of the services that we do provide, startup cash needs, operating cash needs, basically the capitalization of your business. We assist with loan preparation if you need outside financing, or you need to really take a good hard look at your startup costs and see how much it's going to cost for you to actually get that business started. We can walk through a template where we look at your startup costs and analyze it, come up with the project costs, see how much is going to be self-financed versus maybe come from outside financing. And we can take a look at that. And even though we're not the lenders, we have great relationships with many SBA lenders out there, and we can make an introduction once your business plan is complete and your projections are in place. And, basic financial literacy is going to be really important as a business owner. Take advantage of all our webinars and other resources out there. There are great resources even on YouTube. Understanding your basic financial statements. What's an income statement? What's a balance sheet? How are you managing your cash flow? And this all goes into bookkeeping. When you get to the point where you're operating, you want to make sure whether you're using your Excel spreadsheet or you're using an app. QuickBooks is obviously very popular. Understanding the flows, because at the end of the day, as I always like to say, you want to take in more than you're spending. And if you're not, then what's the point? And it's sometimes difficult to see. And so we try to help you understand not only how to start and grow, but to grow profitably. When the time comes, you may need to hire an accountant, you may need to hire a lawyer, you may need to speak to an insurance agent. These are all professional services that are out there. Obviously, it's always good to try to do your research and not spend money needlessly, but to be honest, know when you don't know something, because you're better off doing it right. And, use what free resources there are, but to a limit. At some point, you may need to go out and make a hire. Just wanted to mention that we also assist with creating and helping you get your New Jersey state certification. So if you want to certify yourself as an official small business enterprise, or a woman minority-owned business, or minority-owned business, veteran, disabled veteran, and LGBTQ+, for purposes of procurement and seeking government contracts, we can help you do that. SBA lending, as I mentioned before, NJEDA is the premier site and resource in the state for state funding for programs for small businesses and municipalities to help small businesses. We can help with applications there. And again, check out what programs we have going forward in each of our centers, either at the center level or at the state level. Okay, now this slide will show you, if you are not yet in business, have not yet formed and registered your business, go ahead and you can either scan the QR code, or when you get the slides, you can use this link and you can request counseling. And we can do a startup and work with you. If you're already in business and you have questions about any of the other things that we discussed today, you may use the bottom QR code or the link here. We set this up this way to help better streamline your needs and get you to the right people in a quicker fashion. So I'm going to leave the screen up, and if there's any questions, we can turn over for some Q&A, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Vanessa, for a wonderful presentation. I hope our audience here today find a lot of great value in this. We've received a couple of feedback saying it's been very helpful. So hopefully this will translate into wonderful business actions. All right, so before we jump right into the Q&A, just 2 reminders. This webinar is being recorded, has been recording since the beginning, and it will be available on our YouTube channel in maybe 1 to 2 business days. So just keep an eye out for that. The link for the YouTube channel has been shared, but you could just go to YouTube and just type in NJSBDC State Office and you'll find them. All right, next reminder is that if you'd like to receive the slides that Vanessa just presented, please complete our brief survey. And the link was just shared before this one. So the one that says unlock access to today's presentation, that's the one for the slides. It's a Google Forms. It's really brief. You just provide feedback if you found something really nice, if you found something really, something for us to improve on. Let us know, give us feedback. If there's a topic that you'd like us to cover in one of these webinars, give us that feedback and we'd love to implement those. Now, going to the questions, we have 11 questions and we're doing good on time. So let's see. First question is from Anonymous. Should I choose to be an LLC or a C Corp? What is better for me as a business owner?
Well, that cannot be answered without a thorough discussion to hear more about what your business is, where you are financially, what it is you're looking to do. I'm sorry, there's just not enough information on that question. There's so many things that can influence that, and you'd be perfect person to make an appointment, speak to a counselor, and go through your options of pros and cons.
Yep. So go to one of these links. If you'd like to talk to Vanessa and her team, go to the first one. If you already are an existing NJSBC client, all you have to do is reach out to your consultant and ask them to help you. Next question is from Mia. If I registered as an LLC in May 2022, but I did not start to provide services until a year later, does the IRS start to count year one from incorporation or when I started to provide services?
Well, let me answer it this way. Your start date is your start date, right? From a state legal perspective in terms of your existence as a business. You are, from the beginning, whether you're operating or not operating, you are responsible to keep your business in good standing. And from the standpoint of the state, that is at least at a minimum filing your annual report and paying your $75. When it comes to taxes, you certainly don't have to pay income taxes if there's no income. Whether or not you decide to file, I'm a little fuzzy on that. If you've spent money and there was, even if you haven't made money, perhaps that could be advantageous because, and I'm not going to get into your personal accounting because I'm not an accountant, and I would recommend that you speak to an accountant. But legally, whether or not they have to hear from you, I don't think so, but I don't know for certain, to be honest. My understanding is that if nothing was done with it, you just formed it, never did a thing with it, never transacted business, just never got started, and there's nothing to report, then there's no filing to make. But it doesn't mean that you can't, that you're not required to still pay your annual dues, because without doing that and keeping your LLC in good standing with the state, then you become in revoked status. So if you have any questions about your income taxes, I would talk to an accountant.
Next question is from Ariana. Do you support the formation of C Corps? What about follow-ups or taxes?
Do I support the formation of C Corps? I can set up a C Corp. Sure. Yeah, we can help you form a C Corp. In terms of using the online portal, we do that. You'll be responsible for creating your bylaws and creating your, picking your board of directors. And sure, we can counsel you on that. We're not accountants. We won't give we're not here to give you personal accounting advice. You'd have to talk to an accountant about that.
Yep. Next question. Oh, just before that. So Ariana, if you have not registered and you would like counseling on that topic, you can go to the first link that is on the screen. Next question is from CB Prospering. Okay, we have a couple from them. When do we file the Schedule C for the IRS for our business? Is it by April 15th, like regular personal taxes?
Yes, it is. Schedule C is an attachment to your personal income tax return. And so that's when you would attach it to a 1040 or however you file your personal income. That's when the Schedule C goes. That'll reflect your annual profit and loss statements and any additional deductions you may take for your business. That doesn't, but just know, as self-employed individuals, as business owners, you are still required to set up what's known as estimated taxes. The government does not wish to wait until April 15th to receive all your income taxes. If you were a W-2 employee, you have withholdings taken every 2 weeks. When you get your paycheck, you'll see there's federal withholding, state withholding, all sorts of self-employment, Social Security. As business owners, once you get going and start earning income, same is true. There's a different method in which to do that. It's setting up both your estimated payments, both with the IRS on the federal level, and as well as setting it up with the Division of Taxation at the state level. So that takes a little bit of setting up and learning about how to do that, perhaps doing it with an accountant if you have questions. But when you pay into an estimated amount at the end of the year, if you've overpaid, you'll get money back, just like you would if you had a W-2. And if you've underpaid, you'll owe.
Next question is also from CB. In the state of New Jersey, are we allowed to be the registered agent or not?
Yes, you can be your own registered agent. You can use your home address, as long as it's a New Jersey home address. Correct.
And in the state of New Jersey, are we required to put LLC at the end of our business name when formatting our business? It says that some states are required to and some states aren't required to.
Formatting your business or representing yourself?
I think it's more so of sorry for interrupting, but I think it's more so of if you're just writing your name and you're saying Vanessa Schwartz, but you are an LLC, do you write just Vanessa Schwartz or Vanessa Schwartz LLC? Is that a requirement in the state of New Jersey?
I haven't gotten that question before, and I haven't seen that ever be an issue. I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm sure that's something that can be discovered pretty quickly with a search. My understanding is I haven't heard of that being a requirement. I mean, I think on all legal documents and all, official paperwork, yes, you have to, if you're an LLC, you put LLC. But if you're having a conversation with somebody, or if you have a website and you may have you talk about yourself, at the bottom you'll normally see, the full company name with LLC. I mean, I wouldn't omit it on any official document that represents your business, because that shows that you are a business entity and that you are protected by the limited liability company structure.
Got it. Yeah, it would be, I've never heard this before too, so it would be interesting to find out. All right, so next question is from Robert. What must a single member LLC do to pay employees? What differences in these requirements are there between W-2 employees and 1099 contractors?
So if you're an LLC and you want to hire, you have choice to either start a payroll, which is having a hired employee fill out a W-4, which sets you up on your payroll paperwork, which there's a process, and that can be found online, what the process is to start a payroll if you're doing it yourself. I mean, otherwise you can hire third parties like an ADP or Paychex, or there's a number of them out there, which I will say my understanding is that they're pretty well worth it. Even if it's just one or two employees, sometimes, there might be, some additional fees or whatnot, but depending on what type of business you have and you want to start a payroll, it could be very advantageous to have it handled through a third-party payroll service, because not only do they handle the actual accounting and the withholdings and all the paperwork, they will also work in the workers' compensation if you wish, and that could be a nice headache taken care of altogether. But in any event, it's a process. You'll be withholding all the required federal, state, local, Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment from the employee. And then at the end of the year, they'll get a W-2. Now, there are payroll expenses when you start a payroll. As an employer, you are responsible for paying into those expenses. The employee and the employer share the expense burden. So if there's a 15%, I believe that is the number, payroll expense for each employee in a company, You take 7.5, they take 7.5. So it's definitely more expensive to hire somebody. But that is the law. That's what it is. You're going to hire somebody to work for you, to be your employee. You start a payroll, that's the law. Now, sometimes your business may not require anybody on a steady basis, and you just, it might lend itself more to the independent contractor setup. What does that mean? It means that you hire somebody to do work, to do a task, do a project as necessary, as needed. It's a little more fluid. You don't have to go through the rigmarole of payroll, because that person may do work for a little while, then not do work for a little while, or just be intermittent and is not beholden to you as an employer. They're independent. That's called hiring an independent contractor. And the paperwork for that is they fill out a W-9 with you. You have that paperwork, and you set up for them what's known as a 1099 tax structure, and you don't withhold anything. There are no payroll taxes. You pay them their set rate. They're not considered employees of your company, but you pay them what you owe them. At the end of the year, there'll be record of this. They'll get in from the IRS a 1099, and they will be responsible for paying all their own income taxes and employment taxes.
Got it. Thank you for that. Next question, I think will require a counseling session, but let's go over it briefly. Anonymous asks, when should I create an LLC and when should I create a corporation? I am getting started in the notary business and will provide ancillary business advice, business services in fraud and tax. I don't have an idea of who my clients are yet, but would like to gain traction here in New Jersey. What are some good next steps? I'm in the process of building a website and book to share my leadership expertise.
I guess it all depends on the liability protection. You are most protected in a corporate structure than say an LLC. I've dealt with notaries in the past. I've worked with notaries. They're LLCs. I don't necessarily see one way or another a compelling reason. The industries where I've seen where it's most I would say important to really consider the liability is contracting, home building, anything to do with trucking, because there are, as you can imagine, very high thresholds of insurance required, higher liability. Sometimes there are vendors that only wish to do business and contract with those companies that are incorporated. I've seen that in trucking where there are, I guess, trucking agencies, for lack of a better word, who are looking for drivers who have their own businesses to do their work, to do their routes. And they only really wish to deal with those businesses that are incorporated, and that's for liability purposes. So to answer your question, I really can't tell you one way or another which way to go. I will say, though, that New Jersey has made it easier in the last year and a half. It used to be a lot more difficult to do this. But once you're an LLC, if you'd like to convert to a corporation, you can do that with more ease now. There is a more streamlined process to go from an LLC to a corporation and from a corporation to an LLC. You could never straight transition from a sole prop to an LLC. That doesn't happen. You're a sole prop, that's it. When you decide to become a business entity, it's starting from scratch. You have to get a fresh tax ID.
All right, next question is from Dawn. In order for me to find out if my name is available, that includes all 50 states, right?
No, that's a good question. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Was there more to it?
No, no, no. I was just going to say this question is from when you were showing the name registration.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that because absolutely not. That is just New Jersey. In order to get a legal business name in New Jersey, it must be unique in the state of New Jersey. So that database is New Jersey. Does not represent the rest of the country by any means. No, it's just New Jersey.
Got it. So let's say if Dawn wanted to go to New York and provide the same services under the same name, she would have to check in with their directory if that name exists.
I'll try to explain that the other way. Because I know how it works in New Jersey, don't know how it works in New York. But let's just say that you were New York LLC, you had a unique name in New York, and now you want to do business in New Jersey. You have to register as a foreign, just means that you're domesticated somewhere else, but you're going to register as a foreign in because you're physically going to do work in New Jersey. And in order to do that, you have to check to make sure that your LLC name is available. If it's not, you may have to tweak your New York name and go by something slightly different in New Jersey.
Got it. Next question is from Deborah. Does an LLC protect your personal assets?
To an extent, yes, that's the whole point of it. The limited is in the name, I guess, limited liability. What does that mean? It means that it's meant to protect your personal assets. It keeps your personal separate from your business. That being said, there's no guarantee that any pure act of complete negligence can't pierce that veil and impact you. I'm not a lawyer, and I'll just leave it there. But you have an LLC, you're an Uber driver, you're an Uber driver with your LLC, you get yourself really drunk one night and God forbid you kill somebody. I can't say for certain that some prosecutor isn't going to go after everything you have just because you have an LLC. So obviously, you have to take it with some common sense. But let's just say, absent some horrendous example, yes, the purpose of the LLC is to protect your personal assets.
Got it. Next question, and we have a couple more, 5 more. It is 1:10, so we'll take these 5 questions. If 1 or 2 come up, we'll take those 2. But our goal is to end by at least 1:25, and then I can do my closing at around 1:30. All right. What about registering an out-of-state LLC that wishes to do business in New Jersey? Should it move completely, register with New Jersey, or start a new business structure? Seems like counseling is necessary, but do you have any initial thoughts for consideration?
Yes, definitely make an appointment. If you have an out-of-state LLC, depends on what the business is, but I'm going to give the example, and I don't know if this applies to you or not. You have an out-of-state LLC, and you physically need to come to New Jersey and do the work, and be physically here, have work be done. Then you're technically supposed to register as a foreign in New Jersey. Now, what does that mean? You don't have to create a new LLC, not at all. It just means that you take your LLC from your other state and you register. It's called registering as a foreign, so that the Department of Revenue and Enterprise Services knows that you are a business transacting in the state of New Jersey. Now, that doesn't necessarily apply to online businesses. Let's just say you're in Pennsylvania, you have a consulting business, and you have some clients in New Jersey, and you're talking to them over the phone, but they live in New Jersey. No, you don't have to do that. That's not what that means. If you sell something, that's not what that means. It means having a physical presence, transacting physically within the state. you do need to register yourself if you're going to be doing that. Where sometimes there is a caveat to that is, let's say you're a consultant and you're providing services you live in Texas, you're an accountant in Texas, but you're providing services in New Jersey to an organization that is state funded, like a university, like, for example, Rutgers or Kane, or you're working for the state. There are more strict regulations when it comes to that. They may require you to register as a foreign in the state of New Jersey in order for them to offer a contract to you, because they are state-funded institutions. So I hope that answers the question. Always best to make an appointment, because then we can hear your exact situation and I can counsel you the right way.
Exactly. All right, next question is from Thomas. I'm trying to legally start up an established photography business. I am the only employee. What's the best course for making this business legit? As I have been told, as an LLC, I cannot pay myself. The whole process is very confusing to me, being AUDHD.
Being a what?
AUDHD. I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, the question is, how do they make the business legit? And then they have been told, as an LLC, they cannot pay themselves. And the process is,
it's not that you can't pay yourselves, you just can't put yourself on a payroll, and that's it's a subtle difference. So first of all, I would recommend to form an LLC. That gives you a legit business entity. Easy enough, make an appointment, we'll walk you through it. I mean, you can also be a sole proprietor as well. It just depends on whether or not you want the liability protection and want to be considered a more structured business. You know, if you're looking to really get out there and grow and represent yourself as a business entity, I would say the LLC. And you can't pay yourself. Of course, you're going to pay yourself, but the difference is you're not an employee of your company. You pay yourself from profit. So in any income statement, you have a sale, you have a set of expenses, and then you have net income. You as the business owner pay yourself from profit. That's what that means. Putting yourself on payroll means that there's going to be an operating expense for a salary. And you actually could do that if you decide to become taxed, if you decide to be taxed as an S Corp. But being taxed as a single member LLC, it's just simpler that way. You pull your payment, you pay yourself from profit. Downside is that you pay full self-employment taxes, which over time could be burdensome when you get to a certain threshold in income. Question to have with your accountant. So.
Got it. Let's see, how many questions do we have? Thomas, you asked that. Jacob, thank you for the presentation. I recently applied to the NJEDA NJIF grant, and my team is considering registering as a B Corp. Does the NJSBDC have any resources specific to guiding B Corp development?
You know, it's only come up a couple of times. Not really. I sent some resources, some links that talked more about it. I don't know a ton about B Corps, although it's come up a couple of times. I think the structure is still the same. You still have to register the same way. You just identify yourself in a different fashion. I'm going to stop there because I don't know a lot about B Corps, but it has come up. I would have to look all that up again. I forget what the actual protocol is in terms of representing yourself and getting the correct paperwork. I don't deal with that a lot.
Yep. And if I can just add to that, Vanessa, I think the beautiful thing about that is that even if we ourselves cannot provide those resources and we don't have them at hand, we have partners and we have resources that we can use and leverage to provide those resources for you. So, we have some resources available that are not always open to the public, but as an organization, we have access to, and we can do our research and we can, compile something, a report or something, and provide that for you. And that goes out for anything. If we ever don't have a direct answer for you, as an organization, our consultants can always do research for you, and give those answers to you.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions. And if we don't get to addressing your questions, apologies, but we'd like to be respectful of everyone's time. I will skip some of the questions that we've already answered and try to go for the ones that are somewhat new. Eli asks, if your main income is a monthly government supplement and you are trying to create and start your own business, do you have to report profits from the business, which is under a company LLC name, to the Social Security office?
I don't know. That's just not an area I'm familiar with. I apologize.
I think that sounds like something that a question for the Social Security office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if someone has an answer to that, if you're familiar with that and would like to help Eli out with that question, do so. Okay. Okay, Sharifa. Okay, I see the questions here in the Q&A box now. If Vanessa has thoughts on online banks and if she has a referral for a tax account, or if there are tax accountants through the SBDC, can you please? Okay, yep. So two things, Vanessa. What are your thoughts on online banks? And do you have referrals for tax accountant, or can we provide referrals through the SBDC on tax accountants?
Well, first question about banks is I have no specific recommendations. You have to do your research. My only recommendations for banks is to find a bank that is small business friendly, that does not charge monthly fees, and that does not require you to have a threshold or be penalized. So if anything other than that, if they offer business accounts and otherwise you're not penalized for either of those things, I would say that sounds fine. If you are concerned about electronic transfers of cash for payment, not done really that you would think it would be. It's really still not very popular. Zelle is one of the only ones. You know, Venmo is out. My understanding, Zelle is the only one that is really approved, and it's only certain banks that'll accept Zelle as form of payment into a business bank account. So if that's important to you, I would see which banks allow for Zelle. Other than that, I don't have any specific recommendations. In terms of the tax accountants, we do not make private or personal recommendations for professional services, but I always tell people, go to your Chamber of Commerce and look for small businesses that are either attorneys, accountants, those that are small. They're small businesses themselves. They probably service the small business community. You might be able to get some good recommendations from your local chamber, as well as from your peers. Go to your Facebook sites, go to your communities, and go out there and question, hey, any other small businesses out there that have dealt with a small business accountant? Do you recommend them? Go by recommendations from those who have used the service before.
All right, thank you for that. Next question is, can you help with changing from LLC to a nonprofit?
That there's no not really. I don't know that you change. I mean, I can help assist with the steps to creating a nonprofit. I guess you can make an LLC into a corporation and then amend the corporation to apply for nonprofit status. I'd have to look into that. But just generally speaking, if you'd like to open up a nonprofit, you have questions on how to do that, we can guide you through those steps. We don't typically do much with nonprofits beyond that, but we can certainly help educate you and counsel you on the steps to creating a nonprofit.
Yep. And I'll add, excuse me, I'll add to that, Vanessa. We can help set it, as an organization, SBDCs can assist with setting up the nonprofit, but we cannot advise a nonprofit. So there is a distinction there. We are a nonprofit ourselves, and our funding federal partner is SBA. Due to our SBA restrictions and legislation, we cannot assist other nonprofit organizations unless you are a nonprofit advising other small businesses. And you're doing something to, boost the small business economy by providing those services to other small businesses. So just understand that difference. We can help you set up a nonprofit, but if you are a nonprofit yourself, we cannot advise you with whatever matters there are. Okay, two more questions. We'll go through them very briefly. We're almost short on time. What is the best way to register a woman-owned business in New Jersey that provides benefits?
Yeah, the state certification website. It's called Uniform Certification Service, right on the NJ portal. We assist with that process. You can apply to be a woman-owned business, small business enterprise. Year one is provisional. It doesn't require a lot of documentation, but we can help you get that together and get that application in. By year two, you'll be required to provide a lot more documentation in order to keep that status, which we can certainly talk you through, but it's all done online.
All right, and last question is Ricardo asking, is it possible for a sole proprietorship LLC to transfer business ownership to another person? For example, from a mother to daughter?
Well, a couple things wrong in the question. If you're either a sole proprietorship or you're an LLC. So I don't know if you meant you're a sole proprietorship or if you meant you're a single member LLC. If you mean single member LLC and you want to add somebody to that structure, that entity, you can always amend your articles of formation to add members. All
right. And last question is a bit detailed, and I just answered it saying, please schedule an appointment with us. And Ricardo just followed up saying single member. So they are a single member owner.
Okay, yep, you can amend your LLC, create a multi-member, and or you could take your name off, add that person. You can do whatever you need to do, make the changes in the amendment and then the registration, or if you go from a single to a multi-member, you'll have to do the operating agreement and then notify the bank.
Yep. All right, and that concludes our Q&A session. I have to admit, I think that was the longest Q&A session we've ever done. But as long as it helps our audience, happy to do so. All right, anyone that we did not answer in depth to, that means that you will have to schedule an appointment with us. For Vanessa and her team, the first link is what you use, njsbdc.com/startup. If you just would like to receive general counseling, that includes marketing, finance, accounting, certifications, anything like that, then go to the second, which is just njsbdc.com. You can request counseling. We hope this was helpful. Please provide us feedback on how we can improve, what we can do better if you like this. And last, before I do my outro, Vanessa, thank you so much. Thank you for being so gracious with your time and effort. We always appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
All right, let me quickly share my screen. And speaking of certifications, I know I asked one of our attendees to hold on to their question because we have a certifications webinar coming up next week. And that is on Thursday, August 22nd. This will be part one of two-part webinar sessions, Mastering NJ State Certifications which include SBE, MBE, WBE, MWBE, LGBTQ+. There's a lot of acronyms. We hope that we'll clarify them in the next webinar that we do. Bring your questions, recommend this to your family members, your friends. If you yourself are interested, definitely attend. Same time as always, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, of course. You can register to this as the usual way. You can go to our Eventbrite page or our NJSBDC.com page and go to our event section, register there. You have 5 seconds till I move on to the next slide. Scan with that QR code. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sorry, I cheated, but we have to close that. The time is almost to the end. We are here to support you. Our organization is here to support you. NJSBDC has helped more than 15,000 plus small businesses start, grow, and thrive. We hope you'll be one of the 15,000 and more. Talk with us. Talk with Vanessa at njsbdc.com or njsbdc.com/startup. We hope you'll join us next week and bring more small business owners. All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.